So on today's show of Love, Lust, and Lies, we're going to talk about why text messaging kills relationships. Forgive me. That's allergy, y'all. But anyway, so why text messaging kills relationships. So I got this text from this young lady, and she was talking about how she had met this guy, and the guy, they only talked or they only communicated via text messaging. And I probed a little bit deeper, and I said, "How often do you guys text?" She said, "We text about, 2 to 3 times a day." And then I said, "What do you text about?" And she said, "We text about just normal stuff." I said, "What is normal stuff?" So I'm probing a little bit deeper, attempting to get to the point that I'm going to make today. And she says he wakes up in the morning, he tells me, "Hi, beautiful, hope you're having a great day." Okay, I said, that's pretty standard for the course. And then later on, he texts me, he says things like he's been thinking about me. I said, okay, okay, okay. And then I asked her a pivotal question. I said, have y'all smashed yet? And she looked at me, she said, I said, "Have you smashed yet? Have you gave up that booty? Have y'all done that, have you done your duty and gave up that booty?" And she said, "No, not yet. It's too soon." And I was like, "Okay, good. So now I can tell you because you still have leverage. You still have power." And I've said many times on this show, the women have the power prior to having sex. After sex, men have the power. And I'll go into that another day. However, so we begin to talk. And she was like, "Well," and then so she told me the things that they talk about. And I said this. So, in other words, you guys don't talk about anything of substance. He does not really getting to know you. What he's doing is he kind of just making you feel good about you so that he can get to them draws. And then she looked at me like, "How you know?" I said, and I'm looking at her like this, "How I know?" Hmm. Well, anyway, how I know, I just know I'm an expert at this. Okay? Not only when I was out there doing it, they didn't have text messaging. It was a different mode of communication. I only called, "Hey, beautiful." Same thing. It's just different mode of communication. The game ain't changed, just the players. All right? So let me give it to you straight. So anyone in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, I'm going to give you the practicality of why texting kills relationships. Now, I did not say that you can't text or you shouldn't text. I'm just saying texting kills relationships, and I'm going to tell you why. So let's jump right in. So let's jump right in with a couple of things that I need to tell you prior to. I need to tell you this. If you're in a relationship, if you met somebody and they only want to communicate via text, they don't want to talk with you much, they like to text, they say, "Oh, I don't like to talk that much, I just want to text," he's not that interested in you. All right, I'll say it again. If he only wants to text, mostly text, rarely talks, he's not that interested into you. Okay, let me keep going. I'm going to keep it real, keep it raw. Right, April? Keep it raw, keep it real. Second thing is this. If he only wants to text you, he's not interested in getting a mental and emotional connection with you. He is interested in getting a physical connection with you, but not a mental or emotional connection with you. And you say to me, "Hey, Ken, how do you know? We like to text nowadays." Yes, we do. But the methodology or the vehicle to getting to know someone is having intimate conversations, because in a second I'm going to explain why. And intimate conversations do not happen over text. Text simply speed up the communication. Okay, they speed up the communication, but they do not add to the intimacy of the communication. You rarely get to know people via text. Now, we text because we can do it quickly. We can do it fast, and we can get our point across in a matter of seconds. But we don't get to know each other. So because texting is fast, it's easy. We can get it done and get our point across and move on and multitask and do the other things in the world that we want to do. Now, however, texting does not, we can text faster, we can communicate faster than we ever could, than we ever could. But the truth is, we communicate less than we ever did because true communication happens when there is a dialogue between two parties. It happens when there are questions between two parties. It happens when two parties are able to express themselves and the other party understands that expression. And so let me jump right into my message today. First of all, the reason why texting kills relationships because of this. Let's start with this. See, so texting is devoid of most of how we communicate. So let me give you an example. Do you know studies have shown, books have shown, research I've done on communications when I used to do management and leadership training, 63% of our communication is based on nonverbal, what we see. That's why when you were growing up, your mama could look at you a certain way and she didn't have to say one word. And you knew what she was thinking, you knew what she meant, you knew what she was saying, and all you did was, okay. When your mama, she didn't have to say one word, but that communication, don't touch nothing, don't grab nothing, don't ask for anything, you knew exactly what it meant. So 63% of our communication is nonverbal. Gestures, the way we look at somebody, okay, we're looking at your gestures. I don't get a chance to, so if you're mad at me via text, I don't really know it. We attempt to use emojis to convey emotions. They do an okay job. Sometimes when a person puts a laugh out loud, or when they put a smiley face or a crying face, or whatever, they attempt to capture emotions, but they don't do a great job at it. So 63% is nonverbal, facial expression, gestures, all of those things. 30% is tone of voice. When somebody raises their voice, when they raise and lower their voice, when they talk in a whisper, you know that there is something serious behind what they say. So now, text messaging, so you got 60% of nonverbal, 30 to 63% nonverbal, 30% is tone of voice. So text messaging is devoid of 93% of the way we communicate. Now, 7% is what we actually say. So when you're texting something, it's devoid of 93% of communication. But the reason you do it is because you don't want to face the communication. The reason you do it is because many times you want to hide behind stuff. I always tell people this. I have a rule of thumb. Never text something to someone that has emotion, intense emotion attached to it. Never text someone something that has intense emotion attached to it. Here's why. Because the truth is there's something, even if they convey it, maybe you didn't mean it like that, but what people do when they read your text, they attach their own emotion to it. People attach their own emotion to it. And so when they're attaching their own emotion to it, that's the emotion that the communication had. Even if it was not valid, even if it was not true, even if it was not what you meant, because they attached that to it, that's what it was. So I tell people, okay, don't do that. So here's why texting doesn't work. Because number one, you can't attach emotion to it. The other party attaches their emotion to it. And y'all, I always say, listen, if I've got something to say to you, if I've got something to say to you that has emotion attached to it, pick up the phone, pick up the phone, pick up the phone, or go see the person face to face. Because how many times has something ever happened to you and you wanted to get a point across and the person gets mad at you, and then when y'all finally talk it out after maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 years, the person says, that's not what I meant. That's not, and the other person says, well, that's what I got from it. And what happens is because that's what they thought you meant, it's real to them. I often say perception is real. I didn't say percep. The old adage says perception is reality. Perception is not reality. But perception sometimes isn't based in reality. But perception is real to the person that believes it. How many times, you don't believe me? How many times has somebody believed something about you that wasn't true? How many times you know somebody has believed something about you that wasn't true, and no matter what you say to them, it's true to them. So it's real to that person, but it may not be based in reality. And so because it's real to that person, then what you need to do is you need to balance your communication. So let's say you're in a relationship. You're in a relationship with, male, female, it doesn't matter. I don't care who it is. To women, to men, I'm just telling you what it is. If the person only wants to text with you, they're not interested. They're not that interested. Now they're interested in something you have. They're interested in obtaining something you have, but they're doing what I call they are minimum waging you. It's a term I came up with. My wife and I did a video on YouTube, and I was saying red flags. And one of the red flags in somebody's communication is they are minimum waging you. What is minimum waging you? It's simply meaning they're doing the minimum amount of work to keep you on the hook, to keep you interested. And when they minimum wage you, what they do, they call just enough to keep you interested, just enough to so that you will say this is acceptable. Okay? And so they use text to fill in, So it seems like I am communicating with you much more than I truly am. So they're minimum waging you. But the reason why, so first thing is, look, texting is devoid of emotion. The second reason why text kills relationships is, hey, because I cannot get to know you on a deeper level simply by texting. See, for a relationship to work, for any relationship to work, there has to be intimacy in the relationship. You cannot get intimacy in any relationships other than if you communicate face to face, over the phone, or via Zoom or whatever. Why is that so, Ken? Is because intimacy doesn't come by having sex. Intimacy happens by asking questions. Intimacy in text, you can what we're doing in text. The reason why we text is because we're not really interested in probing into a deeper conversation. We want to get to the bottom line answer. And so when we're having a conversation where we're getting to know each other, we want to probe deeper. We want to find out something deeper about you. So tell me your deepest fears. How the hell am I asked that over text? If I receive the text and somebody says, "Can you tell me your deepest fears? What are the things that keep you up at night? What are your deepest dreams? The things, your achievement, the things that's been in your heart since you were 3, 5 years old?" How does that sound via text? And if they're not asking you those questions, if you're not asking those type of questions, I doubt very seriously if the relationship is going to last, because you don't know the person on a deeper level. Again, what we get caught up in the idea of, I always say, the first stage of love. The first stage of love is when your hormones are raging, when you've got oxytocin, and then you got dopamine rushing, and then you got opiates rushing. All these hormones are created together. Now you feel that little jittery feeling when he or she calls you, and you like, when you see their name come up over text, and you're like, whoo, 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 and you feel all that, and you think that you're in love. You think that you're having intimate conversations. You think that, but you're not having intimate conversations. Milani Shani and I wrote a book called Just Ask 50 Questions to Know If He Is the One. Then we turned around and did a commentary on it. For 3 hours, we broke down each question you should ask and why. Because if you're not asking these questions, you're going to end up a year from now, 6 months from now, and realize that the person you're dealing with is not the person for you. And how many times, y'all, have we got in these relationships and we realize 6 months, a year down the road that the person that I'm dating is not the one for me, and you say to yourself, dang, I thought I knew them. Well, the truth is, all you did was text a lot. You didn't ask any deep probing questions, questions that get to the heart of who the person is, their being, who the person desires to be. Because, y'all, there's a thing. A lot of us have a past. A lot of us have done foul things in our past. I am number one. Done a lot of foul shit that I'm not proud of. However, the foul stuff that I have done has helped me to become the human being I am today. So would I get rid of it? No. Now, would I get rid of it? I asked the question the other day to my father-in-law. My wife and I went to Atlanta to visit him during COVID. We hadn't had a chance to really see him. And I asked him one question that I ask you today. If you had a do-over, if God said, I'm going to give you one do-over in your life, what would you do differently? Now, many of us might have do-overs that create situations in our life that things would be different. But I thought about it for me. And he said to me before I could answer, now I actually asked him and he thought about it. And then he said, you know what? I don't think I would do anything over, because even the bad things that have happened in my life have helped me become the man I am today, have helped me have the family that I have today. So, you know what? I wouldn't do anything. And I answered the same question the very same way. I wouldn't do anything different. Now, there are some things that I might want to change, but then if you change that one thing, everything else changes. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody. Some people would want to do things a little bit differently in their life. For me, I like who I've become. And I would not be doing relationship training had I not been out there acting a damn fool. Had I not been out there trying to slam anything I could at the time I was trying to get it. Get mine, didn't care about anybody. If I wasn't selfish, I would not have this platform and doing what I was doing. People listen to me because I'm a flawed person. Because not only am I flawed, God uses imperfect people to do perfect things. God, listen to what I'm saying. He uses imperfect people to do perfect things. I don't even know why I'm getting off on this tangent. We talking about text messaging. But y'all, it matters. And you don't get, at the end of the day, this. All of us are we who we are because we've made decisions in our life. We have a thought process. And that thought process that you have is what tells you to accept the things you accept, like text messaging, like not communication. I'm going to say this. It's okay to text sometimes. It's okay to balance your other communication with texting. But it's not okay to have texting as your primary communication channel. That's not okay. And if a person is texting you constantly and that's their primary communication channel, they're not interested in you. They're not that interested in you. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. Now, I get it. Some people don't like to talk much on the phone. I got it. However, if you only like to talk once a month, once a day on the phone, once a day, then or communicate once a day, then I don't want that once a day to be via text messaging. I want us to actually talk and communicate, and so we can get to know each other. And the last reason why texting kills relationships is because text messaging cannot help you it cannot help you tremendously in conflict resolution. See, conflict resolution requires you to see all of the person. It requires you to see their gestures. It requires them to raise their voice at times. Because now, with their voice inflection, you know the things that really piss them off. You know the things where they really got in there and said, you know what, that's a major problem right there. Because with texting, you don't get any of that. You don't get any voice inflection. You don't get any gestures like, You know that gesture like this, like what that, or that gestures where the person is just totally sad based on what you said, based on what you've done. And with texting, it doesn't do that. All right, don't ever, when I say don't ever attempt to resolve conflict via text. Now, it's okay to say you're sorry via text. It's okay to say, hey, that's not what I meant via text. You know, it's okay. I apologize that I'm late. I'm on the way now. Please forgive me. That's okay. Okay? Because what you're doing is you're responding to something in a simple way to let the person know that I'm thinking about you. But if you've got something that requires dialogue, that requires us to talk through it, that requires us to, both express our emotion, then do not do that via text. Don't do it via text, because if you do it via text, it's going to lack of communication leads to miscommunication. When you're texting constantly and when you're attempting to resolve conflict, there's going to be lack of communication because you can't put in a text how you're feeling. You can add an emoji to it, but the emoji is simply that, an emoji. Then, because again, the other person is attaching their own emotion to it. They can't see your emotion. They can't hear your tone of voice. They can't see your facial expression, your gestures, all of that. Imagine me attempting to do a live via text. Y'all know my emotions are all over the place. My gestures are all over the place. I'm loud. I'm doing everything. I'm like, are you serious? Can you imagine me attempting to text that? That's what you're attempting to do when you're attempting to resolve conflict. It just doesn't work. It does not work. All right, y'all. Here's what I want you to do. If you're in a relationship with someone, how do you solve the problem? If you're in a relationship with someone, require them as one of your requirements is that you guys balance your communication. Some things need to be face to face, even if it's just face to face via Zoom, even if it's FaceTiming, even if some things need to be discussed face to face, or at least in an environment where you can see the other person's facial expression, their gestures, their tone of voice, all of those things. Remember what I said at the beginning. 93% of our communication, 93% is first 60, let me break it down. 63% is nonverbal. That's facial expressions. That's gestures. All of those body language. 30% is tone of voice. Sometimes, remember your mama could raise her voice and you knew exactly what it was. Sometimes your spouse or your significant other or your partner can raise their voice or they can say things in a certain way when they get irritated. Sometimes I get irritated with my wife and she'll know I'm getting irritated. She's like, why you got an attitude? Or I'll know with her. And so without that, 7% is actually what people actually say. So think about it for a moment. A person can say, they can say, I'm mad at you. And think about it. If you have no other facial expression or if you have no tone of voice and a person says, I'm mad at you, you don't know what to make of that. You don't know if it's bad, if it's good. Are they kidding? So the same thing happens with communication in relationships. Stop texting so much, y'all, and balance your text with other communication so that you can get a holistic approach to your lines of communication. And I guarantee, I guarantee, and I guarantee that your communication will get better or get worse. Either way, you get to communicate effectively. All right, that's my time. I'm Ken Canion, the host of Love, Lust, and Lies. And until tomorrow, I'm back the rest of the week, y'all. Took me a few days sabbatical, 5 days to be exact, 4 days to be exact. And I am back tomorrow. We're going to keep this train rolling. All right, y'all. Remember, every journey starts with one step. Take that one step today.